guys, welcome to today's video. This video is going to be all about how my husband and I packed up our lives and moved to a brand new city. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, my husband and I, about I think 3 weeks ago, we packed up our lives and moved to a new city. All of this came about within about 3 weeks. Like, we conceptualized the idea of moving and we made it happen within about 3 weeks, which is kind of insane that we were able to do that. And I just want to let you guys know how we made that happen, because honestly, it's been an amazing experience. Stressful, scary, but amazing. And the opportunities that we've had since we've moved here have just been absolutely incredible. So I really wanted to share with you guys how we made it happen and just help you if you're interested in moving to a new city or moving to a city. My husband and I actually come from a relatively small town, and we were able to just pack everything up and go to the city. For us, that was only about a 2.5 hour move, because we were up in northern Indiana and we moved down to Indianapolis. So I'm going to go through 4 different areas. The first is a job, how to find a job in a new city. The second is how to find an apartment or a place somewhere to live in a new city. The third is going to be kind of how to financially figure out if you can do it and financially be prepared for moving. And then the fourth is going to be how to make friends and build a community once you move to the new city, because that's a very important factor of being happy once you move. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to talk about is how to find a job in a new city. So this is obviously super important. You need money in order to survive, in order to live. You need a job. So some tips that I have: first and foremost, look for anything that has anything to do with the experience that you already have. For me, I was an office manager, and I was able to find an office management position at a completely different place. One was in the environmental industry and one is in the fitness industry. But I was able to take my office management experience and transfer that over to an office management position at another place. I was looking for those office management positions, anything to do with office management. I was also looking at anything that had to do with environmental things, because that's in my past. I have an environmental science degree. I've worked in the environmental industry. Anything related to environmental things I was looking at. And anything related to fitness things I was looking at, because I have a personal training certification and I was doing personal training where we were living previously. So anything related to those topics, I was looking for jobs in those areas. Specifically on how I found those jobs, Indeed obviously is an amazing resource. I will say with Indeed, don't just apply on Indeed. Almost no employees that post their jobs on Indeed end up hiring somebody off of Indeed. I was actually hired off of Indeed. Like, she contacted me through Indeed and everything, but I didn't just apply through Indeed. I called the yoga studio that I'm now working at. As soon as I found the listing on Indeed, I called them. And I was like, hey, I found your listing. I'm really interested in this job. I really hope that I can talk to you. I just want to know that I just want you to know that I'm interested in this position. So don't just apply on Indeed. Call them, email them, write them a freaking letter if you have to, okay? Don't just apply on Indeed. Find other ways to apply. And don't just look for jobs on Indeed either, because some places are hiring, but they don't have it on Indeed because they don't want to put the time or the energy or the money into putting something on Indeed. Another thing that I did a lot was I looked at the area that we were planning on moving to in Indy, and I just literally searched around for anything in the area, and I was like, hey, I want to work at that place, whether it was a gym or a yoga studio or even the freaking library. I looked at the libraries in town and saw if they were hiring for anything, okay? Just go around Google, click on the place, go to their freaking website, look to see if there's any positions available on their websites. And if there's not anything listed on their websites, call them, email them, do whatever it takes to get in contact with them and ask, hey, are you hiring? I know that there's nothing listed out there, but I'm a passionate person. Here's why I want to work here. Here's why I would be an amazing fit for this company. You gotta put in the work, and believe me, if you do all those things, someone is gonna hire you. Okay, my next tip for finding a job in a new city is update your resume for every single position you apply for. Don't just do a blanket resume with, oh, this is my experience, this is gonna get me whatever job I apply for. No. Okay? Almost every job is different. Yes, obviously I know there's some positions like, you know, a personal trainer at one gym is probably, the resume for one gym is gonna be good enough for another gym. So yeah, I was applying for some personal training positions with the same resume. But most positions list off different things in the job description. They're not all identical in their job descriptions. So you need to look at the job description that is listed, and you need to update your resume to exactly match what the job description says. Use those same keywords. Don't lie, obviously. Don't put things that you don't actually have experience in or whatever on your resume. But word your experience in a way that matches the job description. Also, pro tip, use Canva to update your resume, okay? Canva, you can design absolutely beautiful resumes on there with minimal effort, and they're gonna look a hell of a lot better than anything that you could make in Word, or I was making my resumes in Google Docs before I started using Canva, and it did not look good. So use Canva, it's completely free. You can update your resume on there. They have tons of templates, and you can like change the colors on the templates and just make it like fit your personality, and you can make it look absolutely amazing, and it's gonna stand out from all the other people's resumes that are just black and white and, you know, they're just boring, okay? They're boring. Nobody wants a boring resume. You want something that's gonna stick out, make you stick out so that people wanna hire you. And also, make sure that you read over them and don't have grammatical errors. Use punctuation. Just make people think that you are a competent human being, not somebody that just threw some words on a page and didn't really care and don't really want the job. Make your resume look good. It seriously helps you find a job. Okay, the next thing is once you get offered a position, make sure that you ask for some sort of proof of income as quickly as you can, because it's really complicated when you're moving to a new city because you need a job offer in order to have proof of income to get an apartment. But in order to get a job, you need to be able to tell someone that you can start on a particular date. And if you don't have an apartment, then you can't really start on that date. So it gets really complicated with that. So the best thing that you can do is just as soon as you get any kind of an offer, even if maybe you're not gonna stick with that job, get some sort of proof of income. That way you can get an apartment, and you know, maybe you end up not working at the place that you originally said you might when you moved into the apartment, and then you get a different job. That's probably not the most ethical thing in the world, but you know what? Sometimes it works. So you can do that. And along those same kind of lines, make sure that you are telling places that you can start as soon as realistically as possible, because there's going to be some places that are wanting to hire someone really, really quickly, and they aren't going to want to wait for you even though you're an amazing fit for the position. The job that I had now, I originally was told that I didn't even get a chance to interview for it. Like, I had a call scheduled for an interview, and she ended up picking up the call and basically saying, hey, I went another route and I'm not gonna hire you. But then like a week later, apparently that first person kind of fell through, and then I ended up getting the position because she was willing to wait for me. But make sure that you're giving a realistic start date, but make it as soon as you can, even if you don't have an apartment yet. I accepted this position before we had an apartment, which was scary as hell, but it definitely can make you a little bit more of a good candidate, just because people do want to fill their positions at places quickly. So be realistic about it, but make it as soon as you possibly can. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and move into the how to find an apartment or somewhere to live part of the video. So for us, we kind of had a general idea of the location that we wanted to live in. So we just kind of started looking on apartments.com, just kind of Googling. I even also did that thing where I went on Google and just kind of looked at all of the different apartment complexes, went to their website and saw if, you know, there were any available spots. So just look around in the general area that you're looking for jobs in. Make sure that your commute isn't going to be absolutely insane, because a 30-minute commute in the city is a really long commute, because yeah, it might be 30 minutes on a good day, but on a bad day, it can be like 45 minutes. So just make sure that you're looking in kind of a central location of where the jobs you're looking for. Look for apartments in that area. Apartments.com is a really, really good place to look. That's where we found the place that we're living now. So just look at all of the different options for apartment complexes. There are also like houses to rent in some cities. Here in Indy, there's lots of houses to rent. So that might be a possibility if you're wanting something, kind of not directly in the city. Some outskirt places have some pretty good places. So if you're looking for jobs in kind of those locations, you can find houses. So the next thing is realize that you might not actually be able to look at the apartment you might want to move into before you move in and sign the lease. In this apartment, we actually did not see it at all until the day that we moved in, which is kind of insane, but there's some things that you can do just to kind of make sure that you're moving into a nice place, even though you haven't looked at it. You can look at all of the pictures that they have posted. A lot of places have virtual tours that you can look at. Read the reviews, like the Google reviews for the apartment complex. If there's any issues, believe me, people are gonna go on there and complain about them. So look at the reviews. You can even, if they don't have any kind of virtual tour posted, you can even ask the leasing agent if maybe they can take you around and like FaceTime with you and like show you the place. So there's definitely options to make sure you're getting a good place. This place, it's amazing. I have absolutely no complaints really about this place. It's been great. We love living here. It's really, really beautiful. So with, being far away, you're probably not going to get a chance to come to the new city and look at places that you want to move into. So make sure that you're not holding on to that, because otherwise you're probably not going to find a place very easily. So one other thing that you can actually do to make moving a little bit easier and finding a place a little more easy is talk to people that you know and see if maybe there's someone in the new city that is looking for a roommate, or maybe somebody that wants to move to the new city with you. Obviously, be careful with this. You can't just ask any old person to move with you and expect them to be committed to it and not just, go running back when things get hard. But we actually have Brandon's cousin Kaylee living with us right now. She's in our second bedroom. We got a place with 2 bathrooms. So she has a bathroom of her own, and Brandon and I actually were able to afford the rent here on our own. We applied only with our own income. Obviously Kaylee's also on the lease, but we applied only with our income because Kaylee didn't have proof of income at the time. So we could afford this place without her, but it just makes it a little bit easier to look for places if you have that additional income, especially if you're single. I know it is so hard to move somewhere when you are single and you don't have that second income to afford a place, because honestly, when you're in your 20s, you really don't get paid enough most people don't get paid enough at starting out jobs to be able to afford a nice place. So yeah, definitely look for people who could be your roommate. Look for people who might be interested in moving with you. I don't really have any experience with kind of like trying to find roommates like online or whatever. I think that would be a little sketchy, but it's an option. I mean, if you're really desperate to move and you really want to, start this new life in a new city, look into some of those options. Just be careful and make sure that you don't end up signing a lease with somebody that's not going to be able to pay rent and then you're going to be stuck in an apartment that's too expensive for you. Don't do that. Okay, so now we are going to go ahead and move into the finances section of the video. Obviously, finances is a huge thing, and I've kind of hit on some of those things already, but I just want to go into a little bit more detail about a couple things. So the first thing that I want to talk about is make sure that you have money saved. You have to have money saved because moving is really expensive, and sometimes there's going to be a little gap in when you're working. I personally did not have a gap at all. I had a weekend off and then boom, right back to work. But sometimes there's going to be a little gap in when you're getting paid because of like delayed pay cycles or whatever. So make sure that you have money saved. Brandon and I only had $1,000 in our savings account going into this move, but we did have an emergency fund, which we did have to tap into just a tiny bit, but we've built that back up since then. So like I've heard, if you're wanting to move to like New York City, I've heard people say that you should have like $10,000 saved. Obviously, New York City is way more expensive than Indianapolis, but that's just an example. You have to have money saved. There are so many expenses that come with moving. We had to break our lease, which cost a lot of money. We had to pay for a U-Haul. There's all kinds of expenses when you move into a place. You might have that little gap of when you're getting paid. There's just so many expenses that come out. So make sure that you have some money saved. Obviously, we only had like 3 weeks from the point where we were thinking about moving to the time that we actually made it happen. So that didn't give us a lot of time to save, but we had money in savings already. So make sure, save some money before you move. If you don't have any money in your savings account, please do not pick up and move to a new city unless you really like living on adrenaline and maybe not being able to afford food. Please have money saved, please. Another thing that you can do that can really kind of pad your money coming in is, for me at my old job, I had paid time off that I got, which whenever I would work extra hours during the week over like my allotted like 37 and a half hours, which is like 40 with lunch breaks taken out. If I worked over that, I would get paid time off saved up that I could then take off later. But when I quit my job, it ended up, those days kind of got transferred to the end of when I was done working. So I got that extra money. It was almost a week of extra pay that I got after I left my job. So since I started my new job on a Monday, I was getting paid basically for both jobs. So that can definitely help. And a lot of people don't have that kind of option with paid time off. You can also, if you're thinking about moving somewhere, just work extra hours and pick up extra shifts, get some overtime, anything you can do to make sure that you're getting more money going into that move. So that goes back to the saving thing. Put that money aside and pretend that it doesn't exist until you absolutely need it. Okay, the next thing is probably no surprise to anyone, honestly. Have a freaking budget, okay? Have a budget for the move. Have a budget for when you move in. And before you move, make a pretend budget, okay? Look at the cost of living in the city that you're moving to. See, are groceries more expensive? Is gas more expensive? And am I moving somewhere where I'm gonna take public transportation? How expensive is public transportation? How much am I gonna spend on that in a month? Everything in a new city, think about all of the expenses that you're gonna have. Maybe you want a gym membership. Look at what gym you might want to go to and figure out how much that is going to cost. Figure out if you have a car wash subscription. Brandon has one of those. Look at the car washes in that area and see what that is going to cost. Literally think of everything that you're going to spend money on in the new city and put that in an Excel sheet. Add it all up and then look at the jobs that you're applying to. Are those jobs going to pay you enough to afford the apartment you're looking at and all of your expenses? If not, then you gotta find a different job or you gotta change some of this expensive stuff, okay? It's freaking scary to move to a new city and have no idea what you're gonna spend and have no idea what you're gonna make. For me, when I got my first job offer, because I got a couple, when I got my first job offer, I looked at the jobs that Brandon was looking at and I looked at the job that I had been offered. I added all of that income up, and I looked at, can we actually afford this, or do we need to find other jobs? Do we need to think about picking up part-time jobs? Make sure that those expenses are not going over what you're actually gonna make in the new city. I can talk more about that later. I honestly am kind of a budget nerd, so if you guys want a video on like how I budget and how I figure out what our expenses are gonna be, and just if you guys want a video on budgeting, let me know, because I would love to do a video on budgeting. Okay, so you found a job, you found an apartment, and you know that you can afford to move to the new city. You're here. You have no friends. Sorry, but you have no friends, and it sucks, and you're alone, and you're lonely, and you want friends. So what you gonna do? Honestly, I have no freaking idea. But I know some things that you could do that I need to do in order to find friends. So I will be completely honest, Brandon and I do actually have a couple friends that live here now. That's one of the reasons that we kind of thought about moving down here, is because we already knew a couple people. A couple of the guys that were in our wedding actually live here. So we do have people, but I don't really have any close friends. They're kind of Brandon's friends who are also my friends, but I would love to make some new friends. So these are things that I'm committing to try to do to make new friends, okay? So you guys are gonna try it with me. Whether you are moving to a new city or you're not, we're gonna try to make some friends in the place that we live, okay? So let's do it. The first one is find a community and join that community. So for me, because I'm really into fitness and I'm a personal trainer and I love all of that kind of thing, my community is gonna be my gym. So when I got here, I got on Instagram and I started looking for people posting pictures of them at the gym, and I would see what gym that was, and I finally found the gym that I settled on, that I'm now at. And when I was looking for it, I was looking for a community, okay? I wanted a gym that had a community vibe, that I was gonna be able to make friends at, that I could get to know some people there. So whatever you're interested in, whether that's working out, whether maybe you're religious and you want to join a church, maybe you like hiking and you want to join like a hiking club, I know those exist. Maybe you like dogs and you want to join a dog walking group. I don't know, is that a thing? Maybe that's a thing. But anyways, in new cities, especially big cities, in cities, there's a lot of groups that you can join. So whatever your interests are, get on Google and look for communities. I know there's like an app called like Meetup or something like that that has like groups, and when you're in a big city, there's more options for that. So you can build that community off of kind of those pre-existing communities. Just insert yourself right on in there and make some friends that way. Okay, my next tip is to use social media for what social media should be for, which is making friends, okay? Get on Instagram and stalk people, honestly, just stalk people. Stalk the city you're in, you know, look up the locations, stalk parks, stalk whatever you can possibly think of that might be tagged, and just look for accounts you think are cool, look for people you think are cool, follow them and interact with their account, like their post, comment on their post. And then, you know, maybe eventually you can DM them and just you know, talk about whatever they've posted recently, or, you know, ask a question about their dog or something like that. Just make conversation like you would in person with somebody, but it's gonna be on Instagram. And then eventually, maybe you can meet up with that person in a public place and it won't be creepy. I know there's so many people that make friends on Instagram and even on YouTube. Shout out, if anybody watching this right now is from Indy, just, you know, comment down below, tell me you're from Indy, and maybe we can follow each other on Instagram. And if you're not a stalky, creepy person, maybe eventually we can meet up once you prove that you're not a creepy stalker person, as I just told you to stalk people. But use social media for what it's for. Try to make friends, try to reach out to people on social media, and eventually it might spark a friendship. And the last way that you can kind of build that community in a new city where you don't know anyone is make friends at work. And I know that this can be kind of hard. Like for me, I work in a really, really small office and nobody in the office is really my age or in my kind of social circles or whatever. So I know that sometimes it can be hard, but reach out to the people that you work with and try to get to know them and make friends with them. And if you're really not clicking with anybody, maybe even consider getting a part-time job somewhere, you know? Think about the things that you're interested in. Maybe like me, you like working out, so you could get a job working front desk at a gym or something. Maybe you really like coffee and you could get just a part-time job working at a cafe. Maybe you really like books and reading and you could just get a part-time job working at a bookstore. Like, honestly, those kind of jobs, you can really make a lot of good friends just at like those like part-time jobs, and there's cool people that work there. And if you get something that you know, you're interested in already, the other people that work there are probably going to be interested in it too. And even if it's not your coworkers, you might be able to meet people from the community that, you know, come to the cafe or come to the bookstore or come to the gym, whatever you're interested in. If you like dogs, you could maybe get like a part-time job or even volunteer like walking dogs or something like that. Just think out of the box and maybe look into getting a part-time job doing something that you are passionate about, or volunteer for something that you're passionate about. Whatever it is, you know, you can make a little bit of extra money and you might make some really cool friends. So consider getting a part-time job with some of that spare time that nobody has. Or maybe you do have, I don't know. What is spare time? I don't know. Consider it. Okay guys, so that was the video on how to move to a new city and build a community there. So I hope you guys liked it. If you're interested in sticking around, just make sure that you're subscribed, and I'm doing my best to post videos every Sunday, so stick around and turn on that little bell notification thing that tells you when I upload, so you can get notified. And thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys stick around. Bye!